Awesome, man. But it's definitely good to have you on here, that's for sure.
It's absolute pleasure, mate, and privilege, because when you first spoke to me about it a little while ago, I sort of thought, what have I got to offer? And I thought, if Lockie sees good in me and more than sometimes I probably do, it's just a real honour to be able to do it. So I really appreciate it. It's just such a pleasure to be here, mate. I'm stoked. I'm nervous.
Mate, I know a lot of
cat shit and razor blades.
A lot of the guys are excited to hear you be on the podcast as well. Obviously, a lot of the lads within the Strongmen of Value community, but even those who have been in and out of the community over the last 12 months, because you've been in for about 12 months in the Strongmen of Value program, which is awesome. Yeah. But it's cool, obviously the more time I've spent with you, you were up here in I
was up there. Yeah, it was around about, I think we left April to go. Yeah, about April, I think we were April or May we went to Cooktown. So it was bloody awesome to go up there then. But it was really nice to meet the blokes face to face. We talk online, and I've got several of them that regularly keep in touch with me through the program. We've become good mates. And that side of it's amazing, mate. And I've actually I messaged Scotty Martin, one of the blokes you did a podcast with the other day. And what a epic bloke he is. He's so good. And we've been in touch. We haven't stopped talking for the last 5 days, just like flat out. So it's just awesome. And that's what I love about the Strongman of Value program, is because as a young bloke growing up, I sort of didn't have a lot of real close good mates. I had one or two, but it was different. I was a quiet sort of kid. So I was bullied a lot as a young bloke. So growing up, sort of like quiet, and probably I wasn't your typical masculine bloke that I did play footy, but I was fucking hopeless at it. Well,
you were AFL though for footy.
Yeah.
All the Queenslanders and the Brits will be like, oh, rugby, mate, or soccer, but you're AFL.
Yeah, AFL, back at AFL. So that was
aerial ping pong.
Yeah. So, we play real football at the Queenslanders in New South Wales. Yeah. But I must admit though, you probably when I was growing up, I was sort of following the Pies, and you don't like to admit that too much because I think we got no teeth and lacking hair or something.
Mate, you and bloody Joey will get on really well, really well.
Yeah, but yes, I know. So the Strongman of Value program, mate, it's just awesome because there's such. I think we're all in there to improve our lives, and to be supportive of each other. It's not like the toxic masculinity from the younger days and things like that. It's people generally want to help each other out, and so that's what I love about the group so much. It really made some good mates, and so when we can eventually travel again, I'll be up there. Yeah, that's gonna be awesome. But I just want to get out there and do some huddles and that with you blokes, and and just have some fun together, and just talk to shoot the fats or them.
Shoot the shit, mate. That's what I'm excited to bring the huddles down to Melbourne and to Sydney. We've got such an awesome community of blokes all over the place, but one of the best parts, obviously we get to catch up every Friday virtually, and everyone's always shooting messages back and forth, but the face-to-face huddles are awesome. Like sometimes there's an agenda, sometimes there isn't, but I know just we're fortunate in Brisbane here in Queensland, we haven't had many of the lockdowns like what you guys have been going through in Melbourne and in Victoria. So we've still been able to get together, and I know how much the lads love that, and I know that that's something that's just sitting there waiting for you guys. We've been speaking about doing Melbourne huddles since the start of the year, and obviously you guys have been in lockdown since last year. So it's
100%.
It's coming. It's fucking coming.
And I got to tell you, mate, the blokes down here in Melbourne are all pumped too. We're all keen to catch up, and we just got that 5K rule at the moment. But all the blokes I talk to online, and they're all keen to catch up. So it's just a matter of when. So it'll happen eventually, though. We can't live like this forever. So no, it's going to be awesome when we can. But yeah, they're all pumped and really keen to do that.
But for everyone listening in, today's guest is a great mate of mine, and we were just discussing. Very fortunate to put a name, not even a name to the face. We caught up in person. We'd been connecting over online and through the programs and all that sort of stuff virtually, which is, I guess, the beautiful thing about technology. But when you were doing your travelling, because you're a bloody adventurer, and I'll dive more into that shortly, we caught up for dinner, which was awesome, and a beer and everything like that. And you also caught up with a heap of other guys, and you literally are such an incredible bloke. And, for me, obviously, you're 56, so for me, being 30-year-old, and I think the diversity we have within the community from blokes from all walks of life and all ages and sexualities and all that sort of stuff is fucking awesome, because everyone's an expert. Well, this is what I always keep banging on about, is like everyone's an expert in something that you're not, and we can all learn from each other. And having someone like yourself who, you've been a fiery for, 35 years or something like that?
Come up 37 years now, yeah.
Sorry, I robbed you of 2 there. 37 years, which is incredible. And, you're so passionate about it. And obviously, when we caught up for dinner that night, and you just love the crew that you work with them. Everything that it's about, and not only is it the fiery stuff, just when I talk to you, and I know when you talk to the other blokes, the passion that you have behind the words that come out of your mouth with, being the dad and being a husband. I think married 25 years or around that ballpark figure.
Yeah,
which is unbelievable.
Yeah, married for 25. I've got a 23-year-old and a 20-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, that's epic, and you're an incredible father. Like, one of the things I really love about yourself, and is that you do make time to be a present dad. Like, you go adventuring and do heaps of cool shit. Like, you're like that cool dad who's, while you spend a lot of time at work and you love that, you still make time to be present for your family. Has that something that you've always done, or is it something that you've sort of stepped into later in life, or where'd you sort of learn that from?
No, 100%. My kids are my greatest achievement. My wife and my greatest achievement. We're on the same page when it comes to our kids. We're just, they're just amazing. And back, I suppose, I've always been sort of related to younger people anyway. So I don't feel 56 years old. I relate to younger people better than. I'm not in that old person mindset. I'm not in that bloke who sits on the couch and gets a pot belly because he's 55 years old. Just, that's not going to be me. I've always been active, and I've actually from a young age. One of the things I'm actually, and I will blow my own trumpet here, is I'm actively involved with. I'm actively involved with Starlight Children's Foundation because, and that was through a period in my life. I was in my late 20s, and I was at the gym. I was doing a workout at the gym, and there was these 2 kids on the bikes, and they had bandages on their arms, and I thought, and I have to know. So I go up and start talking to them and say, "Oh, g'day, fellas, how you going?" And I said, "What's wrong with you?" And it turned out they were 2 kids, 2 local kids, and they had cystic fibrosis. And I thought, "Oh shit! So why are you all bandaged up?" And they said, "Oh, we're in the hospital, Kilmore Hospital, and we've come down to do some exercise. So that's what you have to do with CF." Anyway, I just said to them, "Oh right, no worries." And the older one in particular was very chatty, very good, really extroverted sort of young bloke. And he was tapping away to me, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a firefighter in Melbourne." I said, "You have to come down to the fire station sometime and push up the ladders and
awesome.
Throw a bit of water around." And they said, "Oh, we'd love to do that." Anyway, so they said, "Oh, you have to meet my dad and my mum." And I said, "Yeah, sure." Because this stranger walks up to you and says, "How you going? What's wrong with you?" Anyway, he says, "Went up to the hospital." And
straight to the point. Yeah,
straight to the point. So I went up to the hospital and I met their mum and dad, and their dad was a copper with the air wing at the time. Bloody terrific bloke. He's unfortunately since gone, but and they had a younger daughter. And I sort of I said to them, explained who I was, and I said, I'm a fire officer down. I was stationed at Eastern Hall at the time, and I said, which is our headquarters, our biggest station. And I said, when they got some spare time, come down to the fire station and and we'll show them, a bit of our life. And I remember that the day they turned up, they would have been, I suppose, back then, they're only sort of like under 12, I think, about 11 years old or 10 years old, something like that. And they came to the fire station, and of course, my crew there, we had like 30-odd blokes there and women. And I said, can I bring some kids down to the station? And Brigade are just like 100% behind me. They just support us, everything we do with Starlight. Anyway, so we set up, and the kids come in, put them up the ladder platform, so they were 40 metres above the station, and spraying water around. They're in turnout gear. I mean, the public doesn't do that. We don't.
How many floors is 40 metres? What's the average?
Biggest ladder, about 9 floors. Our biggest ladder will go. So
I'm on the 9th level here.
Yeah,
that's quite a long way.
Fire through your window from there. So, yeah.
At least I know you guys could save me.
Yeah. But yeah, so my team just we put on a big feed for them and dress them up in turnout gear, and they didn't have a suit ball. It was unreal. Anyway, so that over the years, I'd spent a bit of time with them. I was single at the time. I didn't get married till I was 31. And I used to spend all the time with their mum and the boys down in the hospital, because they go in their tune-ups, and they'd spend 6 weeks in the hospital, and I'd go down there and just, talk to them and just, keep them occupied. And anyway, they become such close friends of the family that when Kim and I got married, we had them as junior groomsmen in our wedding.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was amazing. So they came, they were in our wedding, and anyway, they both lost their battle with the disease at 16 and 19, so only young. So when they died, I wanted to do something with the children's charity. I wanted to make a difference there, because I just love being in the fire brigade. I love that every day I go to work, I'm making a difference to someone's life. So that, to me, is what I live for. If my kids are happy, they're in a good place, then, and each day, if I can make someone smile through, I don't know, classic examples. We had a house fire I remember in Gladstone Park in one of the suburbs of Melbourne one day, and anyway, they when we got there, it was really going shit hot, it was coming through the roof, but inside the actual structure, it was in the roof, right? And this is a family home that was just, and when we were inside with, what we try and do is, when we fight fires, we try and cover up furniture and protect as much as we can. So it's such a traumatic situation for a family to be involved in, when their life's memories are going up in smoke, and things like that. So I remember clearly I was the officer in charge of this job, and as I say, it was going shit up through the roof. But inside, it hadn't actually penetrated inside the house. So we're putting tarps over everything. And I'd come out and I talked to the owners. They'd say, what sort of damage? And I said, well, it's actually pretty good. So it's still roaring above. So I was bringing out pictures off the wall. Now, me and another 2 or 3 blokes were taking pictures off the wall and bring them out. And they were asking where this was. And then they asked me about this. And I said, yeah, that's actually untouched. And you could see the relief on these people's faces, like a cabinet that was full of all these priceless memories wasn't damaged. And then I was bringing out all these old, and you could tell the photos were like of people back in the 1900s. So I'm bringing all this stuff out, me and a couple of mates, and bringing it out to them so they could see it was saved. But that really stuck in my mind, because that was a family that was so devastated, so worried about, because it was going so well, that they thought they were going to lose everything. So we knocked it down really well and saved pretty well most of inside the house. But the moral of that is that, it had an impact. I went home from that job, we all did. We went home from that job feeling really good, because, we've helped these people through a really difficult time. So
there's something about helping people, though, right? For you, helping people, and even continuing on with that story, what does it make you feel like? Because I think there's a lot of this. What's the quote? Live to give, or there's a book called The Go-Giver, and obviously when you're feeling bad or sad or anything like that, if you just do something for self, it intrinsically makes you feel good. You get cheeky grin on the side of your face. But for you, when did you sort of figure that out?
Well, when the two boys, from a young age, I've always been, I love helping people. I'm more a giver. I'd rather, work and spend $100 on gifts for other people. I buy shit myself all the time, but I love giving to other people. Yeah. My wife's always, actually my son's a pisser because he goes, he said, Dad, there's a parcel in the mail again today. What'd you buy this time? He's always on, they always say to me, what have you bought now? Or they'll go, Christmas time, I go, what do you want for Christmas, Dad? Oh, that's right, you got everything. No, it's, I thrive on that, mate. I've been involved in the peer support program work for 20-odd years.
So what's that, the peer support program?
What that does is when say, at a station, if someone's having some sort of personal problem, whether it be work-related or home-related, or they go to an incident that can be quite traumatic, then we have a program in place. So we're on pagers, and if someone, say a crew turns out from, Coburg Fire Station for a 6-month-old drowning, right?
Yep.
Now that's a traumatic call to go to. No matter.
Do you see a lot of stuff like that? Because I remember when we were first speaking, I was like, man, I thought, a lot of kids grow up wanting to be a fiery, and you just think you slide down the pole and put out fires. But a lot of the stuff that you deal with is, suicides or car crashes and even drownings, right? It's pretty traumatic stuff. Yeah,
I've seen a lot, hell of a lot over the years, and 37 years as a fiery is sort of like because we do all the road accident rescue in Melbourne. We do industrial accidents, and of course we do emergency medical response. So, and being the officer in charge, you're right in amongst it. I even things like the way that our program, emergency medical response, works down here in Melbourne. If you're you call 000 and you're asking for an ambulance, then if it's a cardiac arrest or a hanging or a drowning or something that's time critical, then they'll respond to fire truck as well. And so what happens is we get there, if we beat the ambos, then we maintain life with our defibs and all that sort of stuff until AV arrive, and then we work together. So a lot of the time, and then things like road accidents where you've got people that are severely injured, quite often we'll get there first because we're a lot not as busy as AV. And so, quite often we'll be first on scene. So you're going to have to administer, you're going to have to get to work quickly. And that's why, I do see a lot of that. And the thing about that is, we see a lot of trauma. We see a lot of death. But the thing is, we also save a lot. If we go to a job and there's someone trapped in a vehicle and we get to work, we get them out, we release, they get off the hospital and they survive, then that's awesome. There's no better feeling than that. And that you've done the best you can for these people. And I physically have saved 2 lives through the emergency medical program where they were drug overdoses. One was a suicide, one was just an overdose of heroin. But I was first on the patient, they were blue. They weren't breathing, they were gone. And so I jumped on, got OP into their mouth and started pumping away, and you could see the blood come back into their body, and they weren't breathing. So I actually physically brought them back myself. And then we work on...
What was that like for you?
Oh, amazing. Yeah, it's just, you can, when you actually see that they were blue as the sky, and the next thing you can see their colour come back into their face because they're getting air in there again, and they weren't breathing prior to that. So
you must have a good stress response though, because I think if I was in that situation, a lot of really poor comparison. I wouldn't even say it's a comparison, but when with surfing, for example, and when you get dunked by a wave, you generally want to put your hands by your head so you don't break your fucking neck, and just wait for it to. You'll always rise to the top, but sometimes when you get tossed around, you start panicking. You're like, I need to find, and you're swimming down rather than up. So even though a lot of I know certain things in my life, I think in a situation like that, I don't know whether I'd freeze or or have a panic attack. I don't know how I'd respond, but I think I'd love to be able to respond in the way that you did, where it was just like, let's save this person's life. But I find it, your ability to deal with stress and trauma is on a level that I've never sort of seen. And I can't even once again begin to fathom what it's like to have seen as much death and the stuff that you've seen. So how do you not bring that home and not allow that to affect you, or does it affect you?
I guess I always in the mindset, we're an emergency service. We didn't cause the emergency, but through our actions, we can improve the situation by getting there and being as compassionate as you can to the people involved, to the bystanders, to the families involved, either at a fire or something traumatic of a road accident. That to me is, I've done the best I can do in that situation. Some of the things I go to, like someone said to me, I remember going to a road accident one day, and it was came through as a 15-year-old female, and she actually stole a car. Anyway, she's gone high speed, hit some sharp bends, rolled it and ejected. So when we first got there, there was a single responder AV person there, so I rocked up with our truck, and they were still doing CPR. So we went straight on. I jumped straight onto the patient with AV and started doing CPR on her. And she had traumatic injuries, and she didn't make it. But people would say to me, "How could you manage that when you've got a daughter at home?" After and say, mate, I said, easy. She's my daughter wouldn't steal a car. She wouldn't drive at 160 k's an hour. And so I don't compare them. If I did that, I must admit though I get anxious when the kids are on the road. That because of them not being good drivers. Like Cal had 180 hours driving time prior to getting his license. In Cal he had something like 120. And I put them through defensive driving courses as well. But there is in the back of your mind that there's so many fuckwits on the road that you can be the best drivers in the world, but it'd be some
especially with texting and driving now,
does the wrong thing. 100%. So they're good like that. The kids, they never use their phones while they're driving along and things like that. So with the coping, I just know I've done the best I can do, and of course, you don't forget some of the incidents I go to. You don't forget them, but I remember going to one only not long ago. This is only about probably 6 months ago. It was a 19-year-old got hit by a car crossing at the traffic lights, pedestrian lights, where he was supposed to with his sister, and got hit and killed by a bloke who was 80-year-old, went through the lights. Incident, I got there on scene and he'd been hit by a car just walking through the intersection. We're doing the right thing. And so I assisted with CPR there, but unfortunately he died. But it was right in front of his mum and dad's home. So you're standing there in a situation where you're holding up a tarp so the members of the public can't see this family saying goodbye to their kid. And that's very traumatic, but very humbling to actually be there, to be that people to help them through this, and it's
got a really good
such
perspective
a horrific thing to see. But I think you got it, mate. You can't, you couldn't do this job if you reacted to every single incident you got. And I know that I don't forget them, but I know that I'm making a difference by going there, and that's talking about the crews, like how I've said to you in the past that I've got a really gun crew. Like there's 8 young blokes with me, one older bloke, but we're all a really good team, and they've got a good perspective. They work really hard. They are a pleasure to work with, and so when you've got a great crew like that and great attitudes and things like that, that helps 100% as well. But
so yes, is a lot of it for you perspective? Like I think one of the things one of the most important things that I've definitely learned over the last 8 8 years has really been how I perceive things and the meaning that I give to things. And everyone views experiences and think, COVID, for example, people are just dividing over something that, and obviously everyone's situation's different, but there's also perspective. And there's a lot of people up in Queensland who are getting, blowing up about it. I'm like, for me, why get involved? We're in the fortunate position where it's not affecting us. And that might sound naive. Like, I care for everyone. I've got friends in Melbourne. You're in Melbourne. And people who are struggling with it all around the world. But if everyone else chooses to struggle and let that affect their life as well, when you've got the chance at freedom, because it would be, I know you'd happily switch places with me to come up to Queensland and not have to wear masks. And actually, we're still wearing masks, that's a lie, but be able to just travel around fairly freely. So I think for me, the perspective is I want to maximise what I've got while I've got it. And always, you're like the modern day Ted Lasso. Have you seen Ted Lasso on Netflix, on Apple TV yet?
No, I haven't. No.
Mate, you will love it. You are the new age Ted Lasso, where you're just such an optimistic bloke. And I think, have you always been optimistic, or even actually knowing what I know about you, and I've known you for about 12 months now, you do have such a great outlook on life, and you are able to see things that maybe frustrate people or traumatize people, even in a way that's empowering or humbling, and allows you to feel good through that. Have you always been like that?
That's true.
Do you ever have downfalls?
I probably, not for a long time. I think, talking about perspective side of things, going back to the kids from Starlight, my life changed pretty dramatically from then on, because from when they were younger, when they both lost their lives and I got involved with Starlight, I've been involved in the wish granting program, and so I've actually granted 100 wishes to kids through awesome. through the program. And what we do is we, unfortunately, with COVID, all volunteer work has basically stopped now. But back when I first started with the program, I would go to a young kid's home and meet the mum and dad, meet the sick child, and say to them, I'm from Starlight, volunteer with Starlight. What would you like? We're here to grant you a wish, basically. And the program's amazing. So you get to meet these families, but you go in there and have a checklist of things to write, and you sort of say to them, ask a bit about what their hobbies are, what they like, things like that. And generally, I find that sometimes that should only take half an hour or so. But quite often I'd go to a wish child's home and I'd be there 3 hours later, because the family, especially when a kid's going through, say, cancer. Like I remember going to a family one day, the young bloke, and I granted a wish to him. He wanted to dive with sharks in Queensland. And I went in there, and he was bald at the time. His mouth was full of ulcers, and he was really sick. And his parents, because I'm an older bloke, back then I was probably in my 40s, I could relate to the parents as well. And I got these two parents telling me what they were feeling at night, worrying about whether the child was actually going to get through this. As it turns out, this young bloke's like a gun. He's now probably in his early 20s, fit as a fiddle,
So awesome.
But I love the way that, even though I'm there to help the wish child, it's really grasped. These people are opening up to me and having a chat about how they really feel, going through the trauma and this sort of thing. So, so being involved with so many sick kids for 100 wishes, I really have this mindset that, there's a lot of people a lot more worse off, and I don't like negativity. I don't like people whinging about really trivial things. One of the things I found hard about COVID was the selfishness of people, where you'd see women in a supermarket fighting and pulling hair over a toilet roll. I mean, fuck me, those people, they just don't see the big picture. It's all about entitlement and stuff like that. Those sort of people wouldn't go out and spend 5 minutes in a home helping a kid that was sick. So that really shits me, that sort of attitude. And so from out of Starlight, I've been involved with it for years, and then once as I got a bit older, I wasn't so much doing the wish granting program, but I started fundraising. So I'm an ambassador for them as well. So I'll go to public speaking events and talk about what Starlight's all about. And my wife and I started a dinner dance in our local town here, and we did 4 years. We've raised $70,000 just doing that.
That's bloody unreal,
it was supposed to be year 5, but COVID stuffed that up. Yeah, but so with positives, perspective, and things like that. And another one that I'm so proud of is that when I first started with the Starlight program, wish granting program, my kids were only very, very young. And we've always let our kids, always included them. Never treated them as seen and not heard type situation, And some of my wish kids, I can remember this little fella. His name was Isaac. He was 6 years old at the time. He lost one of his eyes to cancer. Right now, he wanted a holiday, and his family were amazing too. So what we do is I try and chase up sort of extra things to make the wish a bit more exciting. So bag full of toys and things like that. What I was going to say about that is one of the things I find the nicest was when I was going out to grant wishes to these kids. I remember one day I went up to Bendigo, and this young fella, Isaac, who was, as I said before, was 6 years old. I had a bag full of toys to give him, and I had tickets to go on his holiday and things like that. And I've got my son, the same age, handing out these presents to this kid. He was there to, give presents. He wasn't sitting there going, oh, how come he's getting that and he would get that? Cal was there to help me grant this kid's wish, and he was the same age. And I was so proud of him because I thought, that's an attitude of giving. He wanted to help these kids. And another one we saw was when we were coming back. My wife's family came from central Victoria, and we were heading back home one afternoon, and we were going to meet the family of this wish child because it was a big TV unit and stuff being delivered to him on the Sunday. So I teed it up when I was coming back from the trip to call in and grant his wish. And he was a Collingwood fan too. And I got all this donated stuff from, I got all this donated stuff from the Collingwood Footy Club, banners and things like that. And we got this big stereo unit. And they go in, and the kid had cerebral palsy, right? And if anybody knows about cerebral palsy, their mind's okay, but their body's knackered, And so I said to my kids, they were both only like 6 or 7 years old. I said to them, now when we go there, the young fella's going to look a bit different than what you're used to. He'd be in a wheelchair, and he's got a thing called cerebral palsy. And so don't be afraid. He can understand everything you say, and he's just got a bit of a struggle. So we walked in the door, and without a word of a lie, both my kids went up beside him in the wheelchair and shook his hand and introduced themselves as Carly and Cal, and just treated him so nicely. And I thought that just blew me away. So the kids have actually witnessed me be involved with the Starlight program since a young age, and they're actively involved with the dinner dance. And Cal gets up on stage, and he plays guitar, so he gets up on stage and sang along with some of our singers and things like that. So they're always actively involved with that. So I love that aspect of it. And so through my Starlight work, a couple of years ago, I was nominated for the Mitchell Shire, where I live, Australia Day Citizen of the Year, and so I was awarded a Citizen of the Year for my work with Starlight. So awesome, that was a really, really great moment, because I don't look for recognition, but it's just so nice to be, to people who actually recognise it. And out of a community of 15,000 people, I was the Citizen of the Year. So, but about getting back to perspective is that seeing what these kids have gone through, all different things, and I went to a funeral of a young bloke, and he was a bloody grouse kid. He had osteosarcoma, cancer of the bones, and he survived that. And I granted him his wish, and he did a sailing course with the Whitsundays, and that was amazing. Anyway, he passed away about 2 years later, and I went to his funeral because his mum and dad were really, really lovely people. And I just, went across there, and I went walking into the church, and they had a big giant photo board. And the first thing I noticed on the photo board was the biggest photo there was this kid on his wish on a sailing trip throughout the Whit Sundays. So at that moment, I sort of thought, fucking hell, this is awesome. Actually, this made such an impact on his life that his parents have got him up in the funeral and their main thing. So, so with perspective, it's just if you can make a difference every day, just even if by what we do with the Strong Man of Value program, check on a mate and things like that. That mate you ring up could be really struggling that day, and then just say g'day, how you going? And that's like, I put a post up on Strong Man of Value talking about Are You Okay Day. Why does it have to be a day of the year? Why can't it be every week?
Just give it
Are you okay? Because it's okay to be. Yeah, because it's okay to ask how people are feeling. Yeah,
and just 100%. I think even
what were you saying?
One other thing that I think is important, which you've done well, is like we're all a product of our environment, and we all have the ability and opportunity to influence through our own actions, and especially as parents, they're doing that every day. As you're the perfect example. Your kids watched what you've done with the Starlight Foundation, plus various other things that you've done in your life, how you conduct yourself, how you treat people, and that has then become a standard that they've set for themselves. And I think there's a lot of people who are walking through life, as you said, their kids are seeing, or even let's talk to the parents out there, like they're so busy dealing with everything else in life, but their kids are seen, they're just not heard. And I think that's the same with life in general. So many people are trying to fight their own battle, which is fine, but then there's other people who are trying to save the fucking world, yet their own backyard's not in nick. And it's like, well,
100%,
how are your relationships with your mate? How do you show up around the people that matter most to you? Are you, showing up as the best version of yourself, or are you showing up as a slob? Like, if you're showing up as a slob, you're not fucking inspiring. You're not going to create change on a global scale, let alone a small scale. So start with the fundamental things, and this is what we can control, right? Like, we can go back to how do I want to be perceived as an individual, and how do I want to live? And then we start thinking about, well, what standards do I need to have to achieve that? How do I need to show up daily? Do I need to get my health in check? Do I need to make sure, like you yourself, and you're still so active, right? I grew up with the belief that once we're 30, we're done. Right? There's a lot of 50-year-old males, right, who are younger than you and who don't have. There's 30-year-olds who are 26 years younger than you, whose health is shot. They're shuffling around. Yeah. They can barely move. Their mobility, their health, their energy is shattered. And here you are, fucking traveling all around Australia, mountain biking, doing all these incredible hikes, still being, living what you believe is your best life. And because it matters for you, and you make the sacrifices that are required, but you still, you're an avid CrossFitter as well. Like, you do all this stuff because, one, you love it, but the reward of looking after yourself. The reward of showing up as your true self now that you've seen your kids show the same level of genuine care, integrity, and thoughtfulness that that's important to you. I think it's fucking powerful. And for everyone listening, like, it's that you're the product of your environment. You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. If there's an area of your life lacking, go find people who are thriving in that area and surround yourself with them. Because you will, as a result of that, you'll start thinking, acting, and behaving the way that they do.
Like with that too, it's talking about impact. I've always allowed my kids to give something a go. Like with sport, Cal was riding a basketball, and Callie's riding netball, and things like that. And I remember when, as an 8-year-old, Cal wanted to play footy. That's aerial ping pong stuffed up here down in Victoria.
Yeah.
And anyway, so he starts up. He's 8, right? Anyway, I loved being involved with my kids. If I just didn't watch the game from the sidelines. I wanted to be the trainer. Being a medical background, I could do the trainer, so I'd do that. Anyway, I remember the first year Cal played, the coach was all about winning. So like you're talking 8-year-old kids, and Cal was only brand new at it, and he put him in the forward pocket. If they were losing every game, and then if they were winning, Cal would be the back pocket. So this kid would go there with the heart of like the size of a horse, just wanting to be with his mates and have a go. But the coach was all about winning, and so Cal had never touched the ball because he was down the other end of the ground all the time. So I thought, fuck this, I'm gonna become a coach. So in his second year, I applied to be the coach of Cal's footy club, and I got the job. And I remember going to the AFL teaching course and the coaching course, and the coach was an AFL an employee of the AFL, and he said, "Now, kids, fellas, kids 10 and under, they're all starting out. You got to look after them. You got to make sure they try all different bits on the ground. Have a go at this, have a go at that, because they don't know if they want to play footy for the rest of their life at 8 years old. They're brand new at it." So I listened to him like that. So I started coaching. My wife was awesome with this because she was better on the computer than I was, and she'd have an Excel spreadsheet. And I had my 23 players. I think I had 3 or 4 more than I needed. Yep. And we would work out an Excel spreadsheet. I would put the kids on half on the forward line, half on the back, half on the forward throughout a game. So every kid got an opportunity to be on the ball. So you got spread it out over the ground. So you'd have blokes that obviously were gifted footy players, and but you could still put someone with a lesser skill on the wing and another one on the centre line and so on, and spread them around the ground, and that way everybody gets a go. So I'd have 17, 18 parents at my box watching the game because I was so wrapped with how I was giving these kids a go. And I remember, and one of my greatest moments was I was so happy with myself as we went to this out of suburbs of Melbourne. We were playing, and anyway, this team the coach was a tosser, from the other team. Anyway, the kids said to me at half time, they were quarter time, they said, "Ian, they're calling us like seeds and all that sort of stuff." And we're talking 9-year-old kids, Lockie.
Yeah.
And I said, well, don't take any notice from fellas. I said, we're Kilmore. We're not like that. We go out there, we play the game. You go out there and you show them, what sort of blokes you are, by playing the game that you're supposed to do. And they were grass, and the parents all stranded around me, and they're all 100% behind me. And anyway, the game finished and we lost. We weren't winning a lot of games because it was a small team, but they had hearts of gold. These kids, hearts the size of elephants. And anyway, we finished the game. We're all gathered around. We're talking about it, and then one of the kids goes, "Hey, Ian, the team's walking off without shaking our hands." And I said, "Well, there you go, fellas. You 8, 9-year-old kids. That shows you what sort of
where they're
people
headed.
they are.
Buddy,
yeah, where they're headed."
Did you say to them, they're a great reflection of Collingwood? Be like Geelong.
No. I said, no. But I said, but anyway, we're walking off the ground, and the boys just, I said, well, they go, and I said, that's what their sort of people they are. Right? And the blokes I was talking to said, no, their coach must be a cockhead, like him he was not teaching his kids what AFL's all about, what teamwork's all about, what community's all about. So we walk off the ground, and I said, "No, fuck this." I said, "I'm going to so I shouldn't be swearing, sure.
No, go for it. I swear like a trooper, you know that.
But I go, anyway, we walk off the ground, and I said, "No, fuck this." I said, "Kids, change your plan." And they go, "What?" "Go lie up in front of the club rooms of the opposing team." All right? So they said, "Okay." So we walk up, and my team's lined up outside the club rooms of this team. I walked in the door and I said, "Oi! Kilmore wants to shake the hand of the winning team." And anyway, there's all silence, and one woman goes, "Oh, they only got caught up in the moment." Anyway, so we waited, and it was about 5 minutes, and out comes the team reluctantly, to shake hands with our blokes. And as they're walking past, they're saying, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Really?
And
At 9 years of age?
Kids, 9 years old. So then we did it, right? So they walked back, all my kids walked back into the club rooms. And then I walked in last. Coach always walks in after his boys. And I walked in, and all the parents were in there. I got this big round of applause. And to me, that was a really nice moment because I had a small impact on those kids' lives for 12 months as a coach. But I taught them about, being able to be proud of who they are, to be, if you're not the best player in the world, it doesn't matter. You're having a go. Spreading them all around the ground so everybody gets to have a go at the ball. And to teach them that, teamwork and team spirit, and when you like treat people as you like to be treated yourself. And so that was I really enjoyed that. And after that, I was going to do it again the following year, but Cal decided he didn't want to play footy anymore. He wanted to go to basketball, which was fine. And I coached his basketball for a while, but I didn't know much about basketball. So in his younger years, I coached him. And then when it started to get older, he was I didn't understand the game well enough. But
should have read a book or watched The Last Dance with MJ.
Yeah, but I got yeah, that's right. But I got but I always liked even though I couldn't coach a game anymore. Then every week I would score. Yeah. So I'd be sitting at the scoring desk, and you got mobile phones and you get distracted and stuff like that. But I would score every week, so that the whole time my eyes were watching the young bloke, right? And he was back then, it would have been about 9, 10 or 11, right? And he'd do something like he'd do a really good defence or he'd shoot a goal and he'd look across to me as if say, did Dad see that? And I'm looking straight at him. I'm going, yeah, awesome, mate. Yeah. Oh, that's sick. And and he'd wink at me. Yeah. He'd go, you see that, Dad? And I go, fucking oath I did, mate.
3-pointer, awesome. Mate.
But it's just, I love that. I love being involved. And I got involved with Carly's netball club. I couldn't coach that, but I became the secretary of the netball club and did that for a couple of years. And
your kids must really have appreciated that you cared enough to just find a way to get involved in any way you could, rather than kicking a stink up if you couldn't be coach, you still found another role that you could give back to the team and be around your children more.
I think that's being always being there for my kids as much as I can. That's why I have the relationship I have today. Like when Cal and I went away up to Ayers Rock about 2 months ago, we had an absolute ball. And we both love the same thing. We both love camping. We love our swags, get out of the bush, love the outback, we just get along so well, I used to beat him up, but now he beats me up because he's doubled my height. But, he's just... But, we did the outback together several times now, and Carly and I hiked Nepal together about 5 years ago. And this kid, she'd never hiked anything like before. We did 9 days together hiking the Annapurna circuit through the Himalayas. And it was such an amazing experience. And to see Carly, working so hard, and just taking it all in, it was amazing. And I'm so close to both the kids because I support them as much as I can. I give them a voice, and they've grown into kids that I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the adults they are. They've got magnificent partners that really care about them. They're hardworking. They've both been working since they were 14 years old. Carly was washing dishes in a pub at 14, and Cal was working at Macca's. And they're not the sort of kids that go, I want a Nike jumper and stuff like that. Carly's just as happy to go to Kmart, and Cal will go to Aldi to buy a jacket. Yep. They're not focused on that sort of bullshit. They're close, and I think with when we've had trauma in their life, they're like Cal's lost his best mate a few years back in a very tragic circumstance, and seeing what those kids went through that, and his best mates and all his mates. I was fortunate with my work with the peer support program that I was there as much as I could be for the kids, seeing what they went through. When you've got 18-year-olds that are sobbing, blokes that 6 foot tall, sobbing in your arms because they're so distressed and so upset about it's just a life-changing event. I was so glad that I could be there for them at that time. I'd go home and I'd cry my eyes out on my own, but I didn't do that. I wanted to be there. I hated seeing them so upset, but you had to take it. You had to be that strong person to help them through this,
Yeah.
And that was, and I still today, the mother of this young bloke, she's a beautiful lady, and he's got two younger brothers, and they're only 12 and 11 and 12, and they're really struggling with it. So I promised her that I'd always look after the boys and help them, grow into adult, because their dad's not really on the scene.
Yep.
And just help them to grow, because like they shouldn't be facing that at that age, facing the trauma of losing their 18-year-old brother at that age. It's a reality, and so just trying to help them as much as we can, I'm really pleased. Really couldn't be more proud of the two kids that I've got, and their beautiful partners as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's good that one of the things that I've observed about you is you genuinely do care, and you genuinely do make time. And a lot of the blokes in our community, and I'm sure in your own life, know that you make time for people. You make time for calls, for text messages, for all of that sort of stuff, to just check in and see what's going on, share what's going on, which is awesome, because that's what, at the end of the day, we can get caught up with all this materialistic stuff and chasing career and money and status and everything like that. But at the end of the day, it comes down to a few simple principles, right? And it's getting clear on who you want to be as a man or as an individual, and then working out how you need to show up daily to deliver that, right? And if that means being an honest communicator, if it means making time to be involved with your children's sport, if it means you look after your health, like, you just then become about that it's not about a task or a chore, which is what a lot of people, or in my opinion, lazy people, view it as. It's like, that's hard to say. Well, rather than doing something, why don't you just be something? If you want to be a good bloke, what are the things that you feel you need to do to be that, not do that? Because it's really you're just putting on a facade. And if being fit doesn't align with that, that's completely fine. Not really, but...
Yeah, but that's 100%, mate. And that's what, when I found the Strong Man of Value program, or that Man That Can project, I was, as you will, everybody knows, COVID's been a real, it's been a tough time, especially in Victoria, because of our lockdowns. Yeah, totally. And, I was flat as a shit cutter's hat, playing about...
Flat as a shit cutter's hat. For all our international listeners, there's a new one for you.
I was just surfing around. I found podcasts, and then I found this Lockie Stewart bloke, and I thought, what's this all about?
How did you find the podcast?
How to find it, looking for it, just on Spotify, I think.
That's cool. I've never seen it pop up and you were noteworthy or anything like that, but that's cool.
It's popped up somewhere because no one had told me about it. I actually found it while I was looking around. But
thanks, Spotify.
Yeah. But it was, it's awesome, and I love. What I really love is that community we have developed there on the Strong Women of Value program, but also on the Facebook group as well. It's really grouse that blokes reach out for each other and supportive to each other, and I love that. And to me, anybody in the group wants to chat or wants to talk about anything, I love being able to help. I love having a chat and make someone's day a bit brighter, and that's what the sort of like the positivities in that group. People want to help each other out, and it's also I so look forward to the Zoom calls, because it's like we're all mates now. We've known each other for 12 months or something. Yeah, well, that's... how you going, Dave? How you going?
Yeah, you're bang on, mate. Like, it is exactly... It's literally blokes being how we should... a lot of us don't feel we have the permission to, talk about what we really want, right? There's a lot of us who talk about what we're going to create in our life and how we're going to improve our relationships, the downfalls that we're having, the struggles that we're having, the frustrations, and it's like, well, we need somewhere to fucking talk about it, because otherwise we never make sense of it, and it becomes like this overwhelming experience where our head feels like a meat mincer, and it's not a fun place to live. The fact that we can, put shit on you and Joey for being Collingwood supporters, love that. but also then have awesome conversations with you, which benefit both of our lives, is a pretty powerful thing. And I think a lot of blokes may be fearful of it because they haven't experienced it. But once you get in there and it becomes addictive, and it becomes like that's what you seek in life. And not just to say that you become some Buddhist monk who doesn't swear or drink alcohol or anything like that. You still are the same person. You live the same life. You're just able to express the full version of yourself. But Ian, I've got a question for you.
Yeah, 100%. And things like when you've got suicide is so prevalent in young men today. Especially like COVID's affected that as well. I'd rather come straight and ask someone, "Are you thinking along those lines?" than not be afraid to actually raise the subject, and then ask your mates, are they okay? And if someone needs to talk, then it might be something that 5 minutes talk could completely change their way of thinking, and know that someone's there listening to them. But we're blokes, yeah. You don't have to. You can cry. You can ask for help, and not be this stigma attached that blokes aren't allowed to be like that. That's what I love about the things like the group and talking to my mates and things like that. I'm not afraid to ask how they're feeling, and step in if I can.
100%.
And I see that with work. And with work, I've been to so many suicides over the years, and you think it's such a waste, such a sad waste.
Do you, having seen suicide...
that's a good thing about the program.
And death. Sorry, having seen suicide and death, does it make you think about your own mortality at all? And, does it make you really... Is that one of the... does it drive you to want to be present and want to, make the most of life because you have seen so much death?
100%. Now, one of the things I found the hardest about COVID for me is, I'm 56 years old, and I want to be fit. I want to be healthy. I want to stay fit and healthy, and I've got so much I want to do that I hate that. To me, I felt like I was being robbed of my time. They're taking away that time I'll never get back. Because I'm older. I'm so motivated to do so much we've got so many plans and places we want to go, things we want to do and stuff like that, and achievements I want to achieve. And so, I'm very motivated to improve myself as much as I can. And I've never been in a better place as far as mates and that go. When I was growing up, as a young bloke, I think I mentioned before, I was bullied a bit as a young bloke. And that, I thought, that's not going to happen to my kids. I'm going to look after my kids, and I'm going to learn from that. And I've been in a job that my life's been awesome because of my job, and so I think in the end I won because I've got a family that loves me, a wife that loves me, a family that loves me. I've got such a good network of friends.
Yep.
And I didn't have that as a young bloke.
Yep.
So it drives you to make a difference, and so I don't let toxic people into my life. So if people are going to, if you're full of shit and you're just, all you want to do is whinge and whine about other people and your whole purpose in life is just to be a prick, then I'm not involved with people like that. I've got such a good bunch of close friends because they're decent people. And and that is reflected in, I can see it in my kids, I can see it in their partners and their families, things like that. So we've got so much. This is a good world if you have the right attitude. There's a lot of shit happening in the world, and we need to help each other through it.
Have you seen the conversation around mental health change over the years? Especially having seen a lot of stuff around there, how I guess even within our community, people talk a lot more about what's really going on for themselves. But back in the day, and when I say back in the day, even just think back 10 years ago. Have you seen it? What are some of the biggest changes you've seen around the conversation with mental health and our well-being?
I think the biggest changes is, back when I first joined the Fire Brigade, for example, I was 20 years old, and if you had to be macho, you had to be masculine and things like that. The attitudes. If you went to a fire or an incident, there was nothing like peer support in those days and things like that.
Yep.
I think the greatest thing is realising that, people do bottle things up, and they need to get it out in the open and need to look after each other. And so I love now that it's not emasculine to cry or to ask for help. So I see, 100%. There's a lot more programs out there. There's a lot more, blokes your age, and you look at hundreds of podcasts of blokes that are there that are your age, and they want to make a difference. They want to knock these things on the head so that people don't get really sick and suicide or things like that. So there's definitely a lot more awareness, and allowing blokes to open up and be themselves is the biggest change, I think. But there's blokes who, I think, inbuilt too a little bit is blokes sometimes think, oh, should I say something, or am I being a bit of a sook, or is it, things like that. And so there's still a personal stigma attached, not in society now. We're far more accepting of it, but there's personal stigma where they go, maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe I'm being a wuss.
Yep.
But and then when someone makes the move, they go, oh fuck, maybe I have got a problem, and I feel a lot better now talking to some mates about it. You don't have to be. You can be a bit different. Don't have to conform. If it helps you to talk about things, and so I love that now. So that's where I think the biggest changes are. There was nothing like this, 20 years ago. There was nothing like Beyond Blue, or I think the only thing would have been Lifeline or something like that. But it's definitely there's a lot more recognition. 100%.
With this ray of light coming in, like you can see it just here to my, it's slowly creeping close to my face. I'm turning away from it. But Ian, what does it mean to be a man to you, or what's your definition of being a man?
I think I've probably answered that a million times, but I think being a person that your kids can be, not only your kids, but your kids can be, look back and say, he's a good bloke. He's the sort of bloke I want to be. He's got the right attitude. So and same with mates. I think just being a bloke that is not afraid to put your hand out and help others, and be proud of who you are. Not be proud of the person you are.
It's awesome. Well, mate, that time has flown. It's been bloody, as you would say, grouse. It's been awesome. And I truly appreciate everything that you've shared. And I know your kids would be so proud of you, and also grateful that you've invested the time in them, and also just yourself. And you are literally living and breathing everything that you want from life. Like, you're still, as we've discussed, you're still active, you're still traveling, you're still doing all these things, and you're passionate about what you do. Like, you genuinely can feel the excitement and the enthusiasm roll with the words off your tongue, it's inspiring because, as I said, for me, I always believed once you sort of hit 30, it's downhill, but you're living proof for me even. I know we're only 26 years apart, but like for me, I'm like, I can't wait to, know that someone's paved the footpath in front of me, that I can still be having heaps of fun, mountain biking and all that by the time I continue to grow wiser, I'll say. But mate, and we, on behalf of all of our, the Man at Cam project community, we love having you there and bringing so much value to the group as well. So thank you for all that you're doing.
No, thank you, mate. It's been an absolute honour and a privilege to be here with you today. It's blown me away just to actually be in this position. I'm right, mate.